going to call this meeting to order now. This is the February 10th, 2016 regular board meeting of the Pullman School District, and our first item on our agenda is the flag salute. So if everyone please join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Much appreciated. The next item is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda that's been given to us?
I would like to add a brief closed session on collective bargaining.
Okay.
I move approval of the agenda with the addition of the brief closed session.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended to add a brief closed session to consider collective bargaining issues. All right. Any further comments or questions about the agenda? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda as it was amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. So that agenda is approved as amended. Next item on our agenda is for visitors. This is the part of the agenda where anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or a group, may do so. Addressing the board, you will go to the microphone, state your name, address, prior to presenting your information, and visitors are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes, please. The board will listen but probably not discuss that item at this meeting. The board may consider moving that topic to to be presented at a future meeting date or as a discussion item. So, do we have any visitors that would like to speak before the board this evening? Okay, I don't see anybody rushing to the microphone, so we'll move on. The next item is reports, correspondence, and programs. We do not have an ASB report this evening, so we'll start with our board reports. Dr. Johansson, what have you got for us this evening?
Well, I'd just like to report that the girls played very well last night, although they didn't win over Cheney, having prevailed over them just less than a week ago in overtime. But Coach did a very good job with them, and the 6 seniors that played, and tonight at 6, boys are also coincidentally playing Cheney. They have a chance to host again, I think, if they win this one. So, and I'm not sure about where we are with the wrestling, but it must be GNL, Great Northern League, coming up, or this weekend, I think. So, best of luck to all of our participants, and a fond farewell to the seniors that are playing their last games. And I'm particularly struck by that because last Saturday I was down in LeGrand after 5 years of playing ball for Eastern Oregon University. Calvin and 2 other seniors played their last regularly scheduled home game. We hope there's more in the off game, but this was the last regularly scheduled one. So it's thinking of the seniors here and just 5 years ago, and now roll forward and to last Saturday night. It was a real emotional time for Bobby and me, I'd say, and I know it was for the seniors last night playing here. So anyway, that's my report.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. Much appreciated. Dr. Everman, you got a report for us this evening?
Only to thank everybody about the passage of the bond and the levy, and just everybody that's been reading the news. And I don't have Twitter or iPad or iPhone, so I had to get up this morning at 4 o'clock and read it in the newspaper, but it was still good news for me at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
So,
Very much.
I thought that was awesome.
Yes, it was. Very much appreciated, Jim. Dr. Montrotolo, have you got a report for us this evening?
I won't add to that, no report,
Okay.
thanks.
And I don't have anything to add to that either, except thank you very much to the citizens of our district for supporting this. So we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Sturm, have you got a report for us?
Yeah, I just checked the report from our activities coordinator, Chris Franklin, and boys wrestling is on Saturday, February 13th at West Valley in Spokane at 10 a.m. And looks like sometime later to be determined, but in that day, but it looks like it starts at 10 o'clock. So there's that. And let's see, just taking it in order here, construction update, Pullman High School. We had a construction meeting on Tuesday, and not a lot of really new things to report, but a lot of it's visible. You can see that the demolition is proceeding.
Keep tractor and you know.
And they're doing, they're making progress there. We did take a little walk into the theater, and I know you all saw it last board meeting. It's completely different. It would be absolutely amazing. I was hoping we'd get here early enough to have time to walk through it again so you can see the progress, but maybe after.
Maybe, I hope so.
So anyway, seating is in, and anyway, it's beautiful. It's going to be a wonderful space for the school, but also hopefully for the whole community, that it'll get used as a community space as well. Do you have anything else construction-wise? We're on schedule.
Yeah, I think just walking up the commons here today, having a view out there to the west was pretty neat.
Yeah.
The demo that's gone.
So Jefferson Elementary School, the bid is out there on the streets for the Jefferson project, so we won't know anything until bid opening, and nothing new on that. I just got off the phone on the way up here with Dax Logsden from our project management team, and they're kind of tracking the K3 class size enhancement grant applications. It looks like a pretty long shot for Pullman. There's quite a bit of there was quite a number of applicants and dollar amount of applicants. So, but you know, we're still in it until they tell us we're not. So, a number of those. One of the things Dax said, if you recall, we were awarded an energy grant a few years back. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a similar process, and a number of school districts that applied, when they had to meet the criteria within the window of time to actually get the money, they dropped out. So there may be people that have applied hoping that they can put together the financing, the matching financing, and so we'll just see. You know, it's not over until it's over. Obviously, the levy and bond, reiterate what's already been said. Can't be more gratified for the level of support that we saw from the community.
Just so the public knows, how many presentations totally did you make?
Oh, I don't know. Did you keep track?
Oh, gosh, it was probably
50.
20. I bet it was
Yeah.
20, well, felt like 50.
But it was, you know, right up.
Well done.
Thank you. But right up to even yesterday afternoon, I was on the phone with people asking questions. I've got my ballot in my hand. I've got to make a decision, but I have a couple more questions. So that was good. You know, I think it's really a credit to our community. We live in a smart community, and people take it seriously, and they want to know, and they don't just vote for things on a whim. And we had a pretty tough job, I'd say, considering that the decision we made was after school started. I think Dax said in his 25 years he's never seen anybody turn one around that fast. So, so yeah, it was.
Only in Pullman.
Yeah, I think that might have been what he said. And Bill Weed said, this morning, I think he said only in Mercer Island. So anyway, all I can say is that I really do think, obviously, the levy just keeps us going. The bond is a real investment in our current and future students as we continue to grow in Pullman. So thank you to the community for that. I'm not sure, Garen was planning to be here, but he may not have recognized that we changed the time for the board meeting. I will just give you a brief statement that we're investigating putting Wi-Fi on our school buses, at least the ones that go in rural routes and the ones that go on trips like for sports and things like that, where kids are on the bus extended time. Tammy's here, our transportation director is here, and we're still talking about it. It's not a done deal, but it's feasible and it's doable. So we're going to look into that. There are some cons to it in terms of having devices. But kids carry their own devices now anyway, so that's already occurring. But to give them Wi-Fi access, especially on athletic trips and things like that, where they could work on homework and accomplish something during that long bus ride, we think might be a real advantage. So stay tuned. We'll let you know more about that. Anything else?
That's it.
No, I think
That's our report.
Okay, thank you very much. That moves us to the next item on our agenda, which is the consent agenda. And to expedite business, consent agenda is used at our board meetings, which includes items, would consider items that are considered routine in nature. Any item that appears on that consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by any single member of the board, and then we would vote on that separately and deal with the rest of the items in a single motion. Tonight's consent agenda consists of the minutes of our last meeting, personnel reports, professional personnel service contracts, expense warrants, and student transfers. Does any member have anything they'd like to pull from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the standing motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carried unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to item number 7 on our agenda, which is the action items. And item A under our action items is Policy 4130, Title I, Parental Involvement. And to present that is Dr. Bob Maxwell, our Assistant Superintendent.
Well, thank you very much. This is a change that was brought before you last time we met. And again, this was just updating our parent involvement procedure. And part of that was taking out some redundant language and cleaning up the policy and procedures as we proceeded. So really, it's just the change is what's stricken up on the screen because that's repeated down below. So it's mainly just cleaning up this policy, and we also cleaned up the procedures quite a bit. Took out a lot of old language from probably 20 years ago. So present that for your action. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions for Dr. Maxwell? If not, what's the pleasure of the board concerning policy and procedures 4130?
Move approval of 4130 as presented.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the revisions made to policy and procedures 4130, Community Relations, Title I, Parental Involvement. Any further comments, questions, or discussion?
Just a question. So we don't actually approve procedures, though, right? We're
Correct. Procedures are just for information.
Okay, so we're just approving the policy.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Okay.
just a policy.
Got you. All right.
Thank you
So
for that.
I did not review the procedures that carefully, so I just,
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay,
You're
thanks.
absolutely right. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving revisions made to policy 4130, Community Relations Title I, Parental Involvement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to item B under 7, Policy 2190, Highly Capable Program. To present that is Dr. Maxwell also.
Well, thank you. Again, this was, we discussed this at our last meeting, 2 changes to this policy, and both of these are in alignment with WASDA's recommendations, and they have to do with revised WACs, which are the Washington Administrative Code. The first one is noting that in our previous policy, we did not reference highly capable program goals, which you see we've added. And the second was, rather than using the word nomination, it is now referral. And so 2 WACs, which are referenced on the right. So it's been updated, so it's in compliance with the WAC. So just those 2 changes. Everything else remains the same.
Okay, are there any comments or questions for Dr. Maxwell? If not, what's the pleasure of the board concerning Policy 2190?
I move we approve policy 2190, highly capable program.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Policy 2190, Highly Capable Program. Is there any further comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving Policy 2190, Highly Capable Program, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
I was just going to interject real quickly for a couple of you that came in. I think there's extra agendas on the chair back there for those that are new to the process.
Okay, thank you, Carl. That brings us to the discussion items, number 8 on our agenda. And the first item on that is concerning item A, which is Assistant Director of Special Services position. So to present, that's Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you. This stems from our retreat back in June. We've talked about some possible reorganizing of some positions, and with that moving along and trying to get a jump start on future planning for next year, bringing this to your consideration of creating what we're calling an Assistant Director of Special Services, whose main position would be to cover the special education and Section 504. We've seen quite an increase in the number of students. I looked at our data just this month, and from September, we've grown 30 students in special education alone. And so that's quite a large increase. And with that, and with the increasing rules and regulations that come with that, we think it would be prudent to have a position where that would be a person's main responsibility to be able to go out into the buildings, work with our teachers, work with our teams, work with our parents, and to address those needs and issues of individual programming.
Are there any questions or comments?
Well, I know we had in the past, fairly early on my time on the board, we had a similar position, although we were configured differently then. We didn't have a assistant superintendent, but from that time, we're up about 800 or 900 students in the last 10 years, or maybe not quite that many, but, each year it seems like either from the federal level or the state level, there's complexity that's added, and from both. So I would certainly be supportive of having that position, particularly because so many of the functions that would be scrutinized by that person or supported by that person are also things that are monitored and or audited on a regular basis from the state and the feds. So and there's no question about whether we want to be in compliance or not. We absolutely do and always strive to, if not to take even leadership in developing some of the procedures so for other schools in the state and our own. So I think it would be very important that we go along with the recommendation or approve the recommendation that we configure thus.
Would the person also supervise highly capable program as well then?
We haven't talked about that, but that's something that we could definitely take into consideration.
I'm not advocating for a position on that. I just know that the conversations about the highly capable program are that it's treated like special education, but at a different end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
So-
and definitely with the last year's dramatic changes in the number of regulations and,
It seems similarly bureaucratic in the way that it treats the affected parties.
I would
so-
agree with that 100%. Yeah, it is,
Well-stated, colleague.
it has really evolved into looking more like special education on the other end of the continuum, except for the individual plans, so.
So curriculum, regular curriculum, instruction, and testing would still be under the purview of the assistant
Correct.
superintendent.
Correct.
But students who are in sort of these special categories might,
The assistant director would be the first level of administrative connection, and the assistant superintendent would still be responsible for the overall programming
Okay.
responsibilities, but this would allow direct connection and to be able to deal with the the increasing amounts of work and reports that are now being required.
do you happen to know, just off the top of your head, how many special education students we have, how many 504 students we have, and how many high-cap students we have right now?
We have just over 300 special education students. Section 504, I don't have that off the top of my head. Highly capable students, I'll say around 157, 160
Sounds- Yeah,
roughly,
okay.
so.
Well, that's combined, assuming that not too many of the students overlap between those categories.
Well, there
although
is
it's possible.
some, but yeah.
Some, but
Yes.
there are some, but very
Yeah,
small number.
That's somewhere up to a sixth or fifth of our entire student body
Yeah.
in our district.
Would this be more of someone that would, what would this position look like? Would it require someone have a certified teaching certificate in special education, or is this mainly administration, or?
It would be both. They'd have to have a certificate in special education as well as an administrative certificate,
Both?
both.
Okay.
One of the things I just comment, one of the things that I've seen is the need and requirement to have a district administrator at many of our IEP meetings and evaluation meetings, and that's another,
I hadn't thought of that.
probably
Yeah.
that we left out of this
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit in
it's
terms of the workload that is expanding, the time it takes to attend all those meetings.
Is there an IEP meeting associated with every special ed student every year? Oh,
At least
okay.
one.
At least one.
Okay, yeah,
And it's difficult sometimes for me to get to
yeah, no,
IEP
that's-
meetings at 5 different schools and some on the same day and the
convinced.
same time, so.
Yeah, they're all scheduled
Okay.
before or after school. So,
Yeah.
That's drawn off the principals currently without having someone to
Yeah,
have that position.
and sometimes
all the
they
time.
fill in, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
good questions.
Any further comments or questions for Dr. Maxwell? All right, that's an item that's going to come back at our next meeting for us to vote on. The next,
Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Maxwell. The next item on our agenda is 8B, which is a change to the academic calendar, and to present that as Superintendent Sturm.
Thank you. I'll just say that we had a snow day, emergency school closure for road issues on December 16th, and we're required to make that day up. And we're proposing here to change the current last day of school, which is Friday, June 10th, to a full day. It's now currently in our calendar as a half day, and change that to a full day and move the last half day of school to Monday, June 13th. We're also recommending that we consider rescheduling, because we already used March, March 18th was a professional learning day for teachers, a non-school day. We made that up, we used that for a makeup day for the windstorm earlier in the year. So that is no longer available for a professional day, and since it was budgeted and calendared, and there's been a lot of planning gone into preparing for that day, that we'd like to reschedule that for Tuesday, June 14th. Do I have that right? Yes. Tuesday, June 14th, the day after the half-day. And so just extend the year and offer the teachers that professional day.
Has that been run by the bargaining group? And
We haven't talked about before next time. We will have some discussion with them before our next meeting to make sure that, I know that questions have come up, are we going to reschedule that? And so we wanted to at least begin the discussion about when we might do that. I don't know when else we would do it. There are no days within the calendar to do it. I think if we go too far away from the end of the school year, people will already have plans, and we won't, so I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense to schedule it. We'll miss some folks probably on this day just because they already have plans to be gone.
Be glad that we weren't one of those districts that was out for 2 weeks because of wind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes it a really late end to the
Yeah.
school year for them.
Any further comments or questions concerning the changes to the academic calendar?
Is this time sensitive?
No,
No.
we need to decide before June 13th.
Oh,
No, I mean,
but in terms
It's-
of notifying the staff.
yeah, well, no, we've already changed the March date, so
Right.
that's already been taken care of. The only thing is, I think the sooner, I wouldn't act on it today. I think we want people to have an opportunity to comment
Okay.
on the proposal. But we shouldn't wait much longer because people have calendars to adjust.
So if we didn't have instruction for the half-day on Monday, we would not be in compliance
Right.
with the law. So
Right.
we have to, and is there any other way to comply with the law other than,
We could probably meet for a half day during spring break.
right? So, so we have to comply with the law, but we know attendance might be lower than anticipated.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah,
Maybe.
okay.
Yeah, that's why we actually put the 18th as kind of an optional professional day / snow day, hoping, we haven't used a snow day in quite a long time. And so we thought, at least build in one day, and this year it wasn't enough.
Darn.
Yeah.
Any further comments, questions, or discussion? All right, that's another discussion item that will come back at our next meeting to be voted on and have action taken on. So that concludes our discussion items. But,
Would you like to speak?
Whenever it's
okay,
time to do that.
yeah, normally we have visitor section up at the front of the meeting, but we realize that, yeah, we realized that it was a little difficult to find this room. So what it is, we're going to give you opportunity for, under our visitor section, we'll go back to that right now. And that's the part of the agenda that is for anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or as a member of a group. Visitors addressing the board are asked to go to the microphone, state their name and address prior to presenting their information. They're asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes, and the board will listen but probably not discuss the topic at this time. And the board may consider moving that topic presented to a future meeting date as a discussion item. So is it Mr. Ramani?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so if you approach the microphone.
Okay, I'll make it very quick. This could have probably been done through email, but I just wanted to say, first of all, congratulations on the vote today. I'm very, very excited about it, and I'm sure everybody here is as well. A wonderful day for all of us. I just want to say something about the elementary school. As some of you know, I'm a parent, but also an architect here in town and teach at the university. And I would like to contribute in any way I can to that effort, if there is room in that for me to do that. As you probably know, all of you, I'm very passionate about architecture in general, but certainly the making of schools. And so if there's any way I can contribute to the effort going forward in that area, I would love to. In any way I can. It could be about just sitting and listening, or listening and writing, and whatever. And just making that a better environment, or a great environment, period, for our kids and all of us here. So I just wanted to say that. I guess you have my information, and you know where to reach me, and thank you.
Right, we've exchanged some emails, so we have an email contact for you. So when we start the process, we'll make sure that you're on our list of contacts.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. The rest of the agenda contains information items, which everyone is welcome to look at. We have scheduled a brief collective closed session to discuss collective bargaining. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to recess our meeting until the room can be cleared so that we can enter into a closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recess our meeting and until the room can be closed, and we can re-enter into a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. So we are currently in recess until the room's cleared, but anyone is welcome to come up and ask questions or to talk to the board members at this time.